Hello everyone, in tonight's video I'm going to tie this Caddy's pupa with very interesting body, and I like those big ones because these can actually trigger the fish to attack them even from very deep down. They would just race for them and attack viciously onto this fly. So I'm not gonna talk too much, let's go into materials and tying the fly. So when it comes to materials, basically there are only few. I'm going to use hook in scud shape, so you can use any hook, like for example Dohiku 644 would be nice, something from Tiemco curved, or Gamakatsu or whatever. C12 from Gamakatsu is also amazing hook, so anything curved that would resemble pupa shape would be amazing. For the body I would use, well, let me show you a couple of colors that I have, but basically it's viscose silk. You can use raw silk, like natural one, but viscose that I have works well. I have it in like a couple of different colors, as you can see. Couple of greens, purple, pink, red, and it all has its purpose, usually for bodies of mayflies. But I like yellow because it really nicely imitates those big pupas that can be found on the bottom of rivers. And just let me just explain. So this embroidery thread comes in this thick strand. You can untwist it and you will notice that it has a couple of more strands that are twisted together. Depending on the hook size, you will use more or less of these strands. Because this is rather large hook, it's size 10, I will use the whole bunch of it for the body. Now, for the thorax, first I will use Iced Up Prism by Royal CC, and this is like, this is peacock color, light peacock, not peacock black. Two colors that I usually use are peacock black and this lighter peacock. And for the rest of the fly, for thorax and for the gills, I will use this mixture of hairs dubbing. It's from the face, from the mask, and it is blended with peacock's dubbing, iced up peacock, and some purple iced up. So that's my mixture. I don't put too much into it, but it does have some sheen to it. You can see that it shines nicely when it's exposed to light. For the legs, I will use partridge feather, and this is some like broken piece of skin, pretty old. But I will use this dark feather over here that has nice speckles to it. Okay, let me just see. So, this feather over here. I forgot to mention that I will be using Semperfli Nano Silk for the thread, just because it's very strong and I need something strong to hold the dubbing loop that I will make. So I mentioned you can use any kind of scud hook. In this case I'm using some hook that I'm gonna test and just decide whether I'm gonna use it more or not. So far I like the shape, I like the wire, seems pretty strong, and that's all. I just need to fish it a bit. For the underbody that I forgot to mention, I will use waxed by Semperfli 660, and I'll just cover this first portion, like, or last, whatever you want to call it, abdomen portion of the body. I want to build up a little bit of thickness there, because if I was using 12/aught nano silk, it wouldn't be nice. It would take too much time. 630 or something thicker would be, well, 6/aught or something thicker would be nice. I'll stop here. This looks more or less decent, because the piece of silk that I'm going to use is quite thick. Okay. Now I'm going to switch threads. I'm going to switch for Semperfli Nano Silk 12/aught in black. I'm using some beeswax, running the thread through it, just making it a little bit more, making more friction over here. When you cut nano silk or GSP, instead of cutting it like this, it's always better to just slice through it. If you have sharp scissors as are those Tiemco, you can actually cut it, but slicing it with some dull scissors would be easier. Now I'll just double the thread and create a dubbing loop that I will use later. Now I'll hang it around my vise, and now I'll also grab silk that I showed you at the beginning, viscose silk, and just move it forward, grab it around the place where I want thorax to begin, and oops, I didn't catch everything. Well, let's just do it easy way and cut it over here. Okay, as you can see, it's slippery, it slides. It's okay, I'm gonna cover it. Now, I will use silk. I will put it in between a small finger and like a ring finger. I'll hold it like that, and with thumb and point finger, I'll just use and move the dubbing loop, so I can actually twist or rotate and hold those threads where I want them. Okay, so I don't want both of those to be together, because I want to start first winding with silk, and then I'll want to go in between silk with the dubbing loop that I will create. So when I'm satisfied how deep into the bend I went, I'll just stop there and go up. No need to cover up all the silk. As you can see, I'm not doing it. Here, just in case, because the hook is curved, I'll make a 2 wrap whip finish knot. And now, because I want to have some small gaps in between silk turns, instead of wrapping it, twisting it counterclockwise, which will in turn, it same applies for the thread when you have it on a bobbin holder. So if you twist it counterclockwise, the thread jumps to the left, to the back of the hook, to my left. If, as you can see, do this. But if you twist it clockwise, it will jump to the right, which means as you start your wraps towards the eye of the hook, it's much easier and there's less fight if you wrap everything clockwise. So I'll just cord it pretty strong here, and I'll start wrapping in relatively tight wraps. I want this here, I want to have small gap. This first wind is the most difficult one. It doesn't have to be too big of a gap, just enough to let the dubbing loop go in between. I like corded thread, it makes better segmentation. It also increases the strength of this silk, because this silk is not very durable, especially in the thinner diameters. So if you would make it in smaller sizes, then this silk would be rather weak. And now you can actually see how juicy this will look. It's already very juicy. So as tight as possible, but then again as apart as you need it. Now let me show you one little neat trick here. Whenever you want to have this cut off here, instead of doing this and cutting it, make one more wrap just to make it secure, and then the silk will unwind. And now place it along the hook shank. So you won't have this too abrupt cut off when you finish everything. So it's much easier to place other materials over here. Okay. Covered everything here. Make a smooth underbody for everything that comes. Now I will take dubbing that I showed you at the beginning, like this. First I will place dubbing twister into the loop to have it hang. Have it ready. As you can see, this makes it open because this wire is apart, so it's open. But whenever I want to close it, I can just put it together around my finger, and it closes the loop, meaning that it will pinch materials together. They will not fall off. But I can always use the lower portion of it to insert materials and slide them over the finger into the loop where I want it. Now let me demonstrate that. So decide how much in length you need and just slide it into the loop. What I like to do, I like this dubbing to be relatively fluffy, and as well, along with fluffy, I like to make it a little bit elongated, so I can just slide in at the beginning as much as I want. And because I'm not quite sure here how much I need, I'll just disperse it along the dubbing loop, and then I'll take a little bit more and insert on the near side of the loop here. Take it together, slide up, and this way you can add as much as you want of this dubbing. So there is a loop that's open towards the dubbing twister, and then I'll just slide it through the closed loop. This is way more than I need, but for the purposes of the video I just showed you how I do it. Now when I twist it, you can twist it any side you like, whatever is convenient for you, because now it doesn't matter. You will see that those hairs are flying around. Now it's corded a lot, and you would not be able to cord this to spin any thread like this. Only GSP can hold on so many turns. Now I want to remove all the excess fur here, and I want to make this relatively sparse, so I can just return this to my box. Use Velcro. I'll just remove a lot of it, as you can see. This is what I got. Now, the first one goes into that slot that I've created, and then every next goes into those slots, covering them up. It just goes naturally into those. As you can see, it slides nicely. Did I go twice? Okay, let me see. It goes nicely. Rotational wise really helps here. From time to time, 1 or 2 wraps, and you can just tighten it up like so. Just okay, and this was quite enough actually. I expected it to be honestly too much. And here I'll just do a couple of wraps and then spin together a dubbing loop in my thread to make everything more secure. Just brush it out to make it into the shape, like to sweep it back, like so. It has this a bit translucent look. Wherever you think you have too much, just pinch out, and you can see it's like not easy to pinch out those hairs because it's really well locked down. Now it's time to use some dubbing. You can proceed with any kind of dubbing you like. I just like to add some peacock dubbing because I think it looks good, gives a little bit of sheen to it, and real peacock also would work for sure, but I prefer dubbing because of durability in this case. For some other flies I would use just real peacock, it just makes more sense, or I like it more, and that's it. Now I'll just create beginning of thorax relatively thick over here. Now I pluck out the feather, partridge feather. Okay, I'll clean up this lower portion of it, and as you can see there is a rather thick rachis over here. Just take away a couple of more. This is not very delicate fly obviously, and then I'll prepare the feather for the wrapping part. So these are a bit short, as you can see, like when I align them here they're relatively short, but all the others are just right length for this fly. So this dubbing ball serves two purposes here. Gives a little bit more shine, and it makes these barbs extend more up, but I will break them a little bit along the body, but I don't want them to be tight against the body. What I want to do before I wrap the hackle, take it, and then the side that will go first against the hook, will just break those barbs and try to fold the feather. Wayne Llewellyn has amazing video on that. I'm still learning that technique, so just type in Wayne Llewellyn folding feathers, but you should end up with more or less something like this, all barbs folded onto one side. I'm not doing a really good job with this feather, but it will serve its purpose over here. Now I cut the tip, expose this triangle, counterspin the bobbin holder, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, 6 wraps, I don't care. It's slippery thread, so I like to put some more wraps over here, but I will unwind them. So now you can just wrap your hackle, sweep it back, and now you can see that thicker rachis is giving trouble here because those barbs are not doing what they're supposed to do. So that's why you should always look for as thick rachis as you can. Now I can go away with this because I will use dubbing later on for the to control more of these barbs. So just sweep those, make tight wraps. Let me just see, where am I? Okay, those barbs are ending here at the top, so I'll just remove a couple of wraps here. Sorry for making a shadow. I remove a couple of wraps, and then I secure the rachis. And because it's again very strong thread, I can tighten it down and literally smash the rachis and compress it. That's very important over here. Now all that's left is to add some more dubbing that I used for the dubbing loop over here and finish off the fly. Now this dubbing noodle is relatively long, I'll explain later, there is a lot of space to cover. I want to make it thick, and it's also relatively soft because I want to brush it out later. So before I start wrapping, I'll pull those barbs a bit more to the back. I'll start wrapping towards them in very tight wraps, like I'm trying to smash and secure those the dubbing that's on my thread. I want to make it relatively difficult to come off the thread. Now obviously here I need a little bit more, and I'm not paying attention to make anything tight here, I'm compensating with strong thread, if that makes any sense. So instead of making tight noodle that will be by itself very compact and well secured, I'm doing that with strong thread wraps that will lock dubbing against the hook or whatever lays under it. Now with flat thread, I'll make whip finish knot here, or 2, because I'm not waxing it. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, tighten it up, and then one more time. Let's go 1, oops, missed it. 1, 2, 3 and 4, nice neat head. I don't know how I cut it, maybe there is some deformity on the hook, never mind. Now, important part, you can fish it like this, but let's make it even more messier. Instead of just doing it along the hook, I want to break those legs. I want them to look like this fly has, those legs have joints. So just kill it, smash it, destroy the fly. It literally looks like I chewed on it. But look how those barbs look like real legs, and they will move in any slight current that you place them in. The way how you should fish those things, you let them fall, like sink into the water column, and then as they drift along the current, you will have a take or not, but the best way it would be to just stop them by the end of your drift to induce the lift of the pupa up through the water column, and that imitates the behavior of pupas, which they have gases. That's why I have those shiny things in it, like glitter and flash and everything iced up, to imitate those bubbles that actually let pupa swim relatively fast towards the surface. So the best way to fish it is lasering lift, literally. That's how it's called. You can Google it, I guess. So guys, I hope you like this ugly fly. I hope you learned something new maybe. Obviously this kind of body you can use for any kind of flies, even for regular jig nymphs, or I don't know, just be imaginative over there. And I didn't pay attention to any details here, obviously, because I don't want to have any wing buds over here or whatever, because when this is in water it will look just like real pupa. It's just, I think it looks very, very fishy. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Until next video, keep safe and tight lines.